Now that you've walked through the process of creating your assessment, your next step is going to be to walk through the setup. After you do the setup, you're going to then go and add in your questions. So the first part of the setup is going to be to provide instructions for your students. This is going to be the first screen that they see when they click on your assessment, and it's a good place to be able to provide your students with any instructions that you might want, any links that you might want them to see, or even a picture. So here is an example of what your students might see when they start to take this assessment. Here I've included a picture, I've included some directions, and your students are then going to see how many points that this assessment is worth and that they'll be able to start a new attempt. So if I'm looking to go into my instructions here, I can come in here and I can type in some information. Once I've typed in the information, I can use my text editor up top to make any adjustments that I want. I can come in and I could make the text bigger or smaller, I could change the color of it, and I could make anything bold or italicized that I would like. The other option that you're going to see in your instruction area is the ability for you to be able to include a link in here. So if you would like your students to start by reading something or watching a video, you could provide a link to that right here. And you could also come in and add any additional content that you would like to, such as a picture. So I'll just go through and walk through attaching a picture that I might have saved here, and I will add that in there. The next options that you're going to see are going to be some assessment settings that you can choose to use. The first one is going to be the assessment has a time limit. By default, it's going to be set to no, but if you would like your students to have a specific amount of time to take this from when they launch it, you can set a time limit in here. So maybe you want them to have 20 minutes, and you could toggle this up and down. The assessment questions can be randomly ordered, so if you don't mind the order that they show up, you can make this a randomly ordered assessment. And the next option is automatically right now set to show the possible points for each question. So the students will know how many points each question is worth as they go through. The assessment toolbar is going to offer you some tools that will be available to your students as they take this assessment. And some of them you might want to apply for all of your questions as you go through. So the first one here is students can flag questions for review. By putting this on, this means that the students are going to have an option in their toolbar that lets them choose this specific question as a review, meaning that they're working and they're not sure about it, and at the end of the assessment, it's going to give them a notification to go back and check over their work. The next option is going to be that students can eliminate choices. So if this is a test strategy that you work on with your students, you can turn this on. And this means as your students are working through some questions, specifically like multiple choice, they'll be able to click on answers that they know are not correct, and it will gray them out and kind of take it out of view for them. If you would like your students to have a calculator, you can either choose a basic calculator or a scientific calculator. If you have questions that might need a ruler, you can choose a ruler in either centimeters or inches. You can also have protractors, and this option is going to allow your students to highlight some text as they work through. If you would like your students to have a notepad available to them where they can type, you can turn that on as well. Moving down, the last option is going to be student settings. The first one here says allow students to view results after an attempt is submitted. So this means after they have submitted their entire assessment that they would either be able to see results or not. By default, this is going to be set to no, and this is something that you might want to change after your students have all completed their assessment. So maybe it's the next day, you want to change this to yes, students can see their results with correct answers so that they can see what they've answered and what the correct answer should be. But this is something that you're going to probably want to come back into at a later date once your students have all completed this assessment. The last one is the number of attempts that students can have. So you can change this to whatever suits your needs if you want your students to be able to have 2 or 3 times in order to be able to take that. Once you're finished here, you can come in and click the Save button, and this is going to allow you to save those changes. As you come up to the top of the page again, you're going to see a drop-down box that says Actions, and from this spot, this is where you're going to be able to publish or unpublish this assessment. You can copy this to another course, or you can save this assessment to your resources. If you wanted to edit any of the details, you can get to that screen right from here by clicking on Edit, and this is going to open up the field where you can set your due date and change if your submissions are disabled, as well as to adjust any points. In the next video, we're going to get into how you can start setting up some of your questions.